Engineers Week brings the fascinating world of engineering to life in communities nationwide. Engineers Ireland call on organisations, schools, third level institutes, and libraries nationwide to get involved each year and organise events. Events range in audience size and shape. And today, Amanda and Caroline from Meath Libraries are here to talk about their experiences and how other libraries can easily get involved in Engineers Week.
What is STEM? STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics. It seeks to increase student interest and competency in these areas and to develop an interest in future careers in STEM-related fields by studying and solving real-world problems through project-based learning. And in the past 10 years, STEM-related careers are more than normal careers. People can sort of contribute to society in a better way. They can travel with their STEM careers and they're less likely to experience unemployment. By introducing the arts into the original STEM becomes STEAM, and the STEAM program, we can bring creative people into STEM fields by showing students the creativity in what they're doing and how it lets them explore their own creative interests. And by putting A into STEAM, it just doesn't mean drawing or art. It's a whole new
way of looking at the events that we're offering in the libraries. We don't mean drawing. When we say an art, we don't mean drawing. We mean in any of the events that we're preparing, we will use scientific slants to very traditional events. A lot of the events we will be organised might not necessarily at their core be terribly different, but the slant that we're taking is different. We're also encouraging a lot of parents and children to play together. This is a huge thing behind STEM, is parental and child involvement together, and it's an area I think that had fallen away. So our view here is with the libraries is just to provide a safe space where parents can come and play with their children and grow together. So why would libraries want to be involved in STEAM? What would be in it for us? So we're in a very unique position because we can engage with different groups and age groups in this with our STEM and STEAM activities. The library in most instances is seen as very much a hub of the community, and we want to facilitate literacy improvement and development. And at the core of all our work is to promote lifelong learning. And nothing kind of emphasises that as much as our STEAM events, where you're looking, as we said earlier, to engage adults and children and a whole cross-section of the community into a different way at looking at, shall we say, science and through play. Okay, for example, we have had an events team in Meath Libraries for several years, but we found with the growing emphasis on STEAM and STEAM events that we needed to have, say, a couple of people who just focused on STEAM events. So our events team would take care of such events like CBF, the Children's Book Festival, our Summer Festival, our Balcony Festival, Christmas Festival, Seacht na Gaeilge. And now we've introduced a STEAM team, okay? And that involves both Caroline and I and some other members of an e-services team. And we then are responsible for organising all the events throughout the year, throughout the library service, okay? So we would organise for the bigger libraries and the smaller libraries. The beauty of having a set team to do that is that we're building each year on the context that we make. Also, that we are standardising the service that's been offered to all branches throughout the county. So, for example, in your branches with the smaller, where maybe there's only one or two people, you can understand it would be very difficult for them to take time away from the desk to organise events for the various different weeks. So what we do is we sit down, we look at the events, the weeks that are coming up, and we'll outline those later, and we say, okay, what can we do? Where can we put this? Where can we put an event that would celebrate this festival? So then we make the appointment, we book the event. We ring the appropriate library, and we say we'd like you to get, for example, a class in on Monday the 20th at such and such time. It's relevant to such and such an age group. And then the people in that smaller branch just have to be there, which they would anyway, and then the event can take place, which means that children in smaller libraries in more rural areas are not losing out because they don't live in big towns in the county. And that has been very effective, and the smaller library staffs are very happy with that because they are very keen to promote all of these weeks, but obviously they don't have the time or the resources themselves. So that's where we come in.
Yes, I think we've standardised.
Yeah.
So for Engineers Week, smaller or bigger libraries will get an event. Same with Science Week, whether they're big or small, they'll get an event for Science Week. So that's what we've been trying to do, is that everyone will get the same.
For us, we're sort of seeing that the STEM and STEAM, it also, as well as the various events, it's promoting our collections, which is really what we're about. We are promoting our collections and our services, and it's getting people into the libraries, and they're seeing the way libraries have changed and evolved over the last few years. We'll often find that when people come back to rejoin, and they'll say, oh my goodness, I haven't been since I was a child. I didn't know that you had all of these services. And in many instances, the only thing that will bring them back into the service is them having a family themselves and starting from scratch themselves. So we would often have, beside any of the events, the STEAM events that we're doing, we would have a selection of books, for example, of which are appropriate, obviously, the event, and then maybe a collection of books, maybe current books or whatever else, just promote our services, maybe a notice board beside it. Did you know that you can do this in the library or whatever? Because we're trying to promote ourselves as well within the fact that we're promoting STEAM. And it does complement each other very, very well, we find.
And plus the fact, I think, if you bring out collections, sometimes our books on engineering or space are in our non-fiction, junior non-fiction, people might not find them. But if you have an event where, a child or a class or whatever family is coming into, and you do your collection, they can find often, a book that, they might not have found before that on the shelf, because sometimes the Dewey system in libraries can be hard to find.
It can. And some of those books, if when they're all filed like this, is quite difficult. And you can't display. It's not like a bookshop where you have any ample amount of space. Face outs. We don't have that, the beauty of that. So putting all the books together, like if it's Space Week, all the books on space, or if it's Earth Day, all the books on conservation and the environment, so you're getting the idea. Even if it's arts and crafts, or it's a crafty event, because being good at arts and crafts is a very important part as well. We put all of that out, okay?
Yes, yeah.
And we found that those books that we put out walk off the shelves.
They do, yes.
And where they would have maybe sat on the shelf, unknown at the time. It brings reluctant readers. And what do we mean? Like people who would say, oh gosh, I don't read. But suddenly they're maybe in a class event, or they come down to play Lego some morning, and the next thing they know, they see a nice display and they say, oh, there's books on. And suddenly they're involved. And that happens more times than you can imagine. It really, really does.
But I think they can see it then, maybe the library, as a place of fun, not just of books. Because if you're a reluctant reader, the last thing you want is a whole load of books around you.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you're in doing an event and it's a fun event, suddenly it's a fun event, and the library can be seen. So it might, attract them back later on or something.
And maybe if their parents' experience has not been a very positive experience over the years in the libraries, they may be pushing libraries to their children as an extension of school. And we really don't want it to be an extension of school. We want it to be a fun place. But it's just to get the children in. Once they come in and we get them in, it's a whole world opens up to them. And that's what we really, really want. So these reluctant readers, that's what for want of a better title, we would call them reluctant readers, but they will come in. Our STEAM stories and story times. So most libraries, certainly every library does a story time every week. At least one, and that is fabulous. Parents come along with preschoolers and they listen to stories. Most of the libraries now have added a Duplo play session onto the session, and that's working out really well as well. It works for everybody. It works for the children because they get their lovely stories, they get their Duplo play time. The parents then become more involved in community, and in many instances are maybe lonely, and they maybe make friends, and we see the same children, and then you might see their neighbour maybe that they've talked about coming every week. So in September, beginning of their academic year, the preschoolers, it's kind of slow. And then by November, you're seeing it growing and going, because word of mouth goes around that how enjoyable it can be.
Yes.
Okay. We're getting new audiences, and that's what we're saying, is that by attracting these people in, by holding talks or whatever else of other interests, people will come in and see the book stock. That's a big thing we have in the libraries. People need to sometimes have a stereotypical view of what a library is, and we need just to get them past the door. Once we get them past the door, we have
I think
them.
when people come in and see, they suddenly realise that, God, this is not like the libraries of years ago when I was a child or whatever. Libraries have changed so much, offer so much, so different now. And not, sort of anymore, So I think that's definitely.
I think we can honestly say that once we've got them in, we've more or less kept them to a greater or lesser extent. We even find that you'll hear people say, "Oh, I'm getting an iPad or whatever for Christmas or whatever," and you won't see me now because I won't be borrowing books, but you will always see them back. And now we have our e-services where you can download the books. Okay, we mightn't be seeing them, but they're still using us, But
and sometimes, to start with the iPad, they may not know how to use it or how to download our ebooks. So we have our e-services team who will do one-to-ones with them, to help them,
because sometimes they get the gift and it's handed to them,
and they don't know how to use it,
and they don't know where to go. So we're quite happy to show them how to do that and whatever, because it's a book in another form, and it's still our area of expertise. We basically, what we're saying with that slide there is we're just trying to say that we just want people to realise what we have to offer. And these various STEAM and STEM activities are our way of getting these people in, okay? And that's how we do it, okay?
Yeah, just helping to promote the library in a different way.
In a different way.
Yeah.
So, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, the weeks that we focused on then when Amanda and myself took over, we decided we'd take the main weeks during the year and we'd focus on them. And that initially, that even if one library got an event for a particular week, well, at least it was covered somewhere in the library in Meath. So the first week of the year is normally Engineers Week, February, March. The second sort of then would be Tech Week, takes place April, May. Earth Day, we decided then with climate change and climate action, we decided we'd celebrate Earth Day. We took Gaming Week, which is normally sometimes can be April, but sometimes October, September, October. We're not quite sure. There's two.
The American one,
or the international one. Yeah. So Space Week then is in October. Maths Week is in October and Science Week in November. And then for our summer program as well, which we would normally just have done our usual maybe puppet shows, and still do puppet shows, arts and crafts, things like that. We decided we would take like an art and craft session and we would put a STEAM emphasis on it. Okay, so
and what we kind of did there with the summer program is, a lot of these events cost money, obviously, and there is some investment to a greater or lesser extent. Now we'll talk about some of the investment we made later that can be reused and reused. But we actually would have, any of the events that we would have run throughout the various weeks Caroline spoke about, anything that was particularly successful and interesting, we would have taken note and we'd have said, right, okay, that's an event that would go down very well in the summer. Okay, for example, our Earth Day, we had a guy, Robin, came and he just was amazing. We had him back for 2 different days in the summer.
Yeah,
he's coming again.
He's coming again. He's an environmental scientist,
and he will come again now during the summer. I've no doubt. Okay,
because we had on July the 10th was Don't Step on a Bee Day, so he's an environmental scientist. He keeps bees and just all about life, sort of plant and animal life and stuff like that. So he's great. So if he came then during the summer for Don't Step on a Bee Day, and he did workshops, and children came in to do it. And
it's important kind of to look through, because there are a few like that was kind of quirky. Don't Step on a Bee Day.
Yes.
Then also in February this year, for example, there's I'm sure it's every year, but I just became aware of it recently, is National Pet Day. And every child has a pet, wants a pet, or whatever, at least one. So we can exploit our book stock on that, and we can have various different things coming in. We've often through years had people like come from the Dogs Trust and come and explain to children how to mind a dog and whatever. But we're thinking of exploring this year is the beneficial aspect of animals to humans. And there are so many books at the moment. I'm amazed at the amount of books there are out there. So we're thinking of doing something like that. And, people are very keen to give back to the library. We have people who use, in the libraries we have, I don't know if people are aware of it, a Tover Tafel table, which is what we call in the trade a magic table. It projects from the ceiling down onto a table all these images and games for people who have sensory issues. Okay, there's a lady who uses us with her little girl, and she has an assistant dog. And she came to us and said that she was so appreciative of the service that she would like to give back something. And we were rubbing her dog and the jacket, the work jacket had been taken off so the dog could interact. And I think it was Holly or Goldie or something the dog was called. Anyway, she would like to come and talk to a group of children about the benefits of an animal and what the difference this animal has made to her daughter's life. Okay, so we were sort of thinking that perhaps we might get someone to come in and do the science bit of the research that's been done about the relationship, whatever, and then this lady might come and do it. So what we're trying, really why I thought of that was people in your own community. You never sometimes have to look further than your front door. People are really keen to give back to the library service. And we offered them a lovely platform to do that. And just keep your eyes open at the desk. I think that's what we do a lot of the time. Listen to what people are saying to you, other events that come up. And it's
and I think
helpful.
sort of the last 2 years we focused a lot on children's events, STEAM events. But I think this year we want to do a few more adult events, STEAM events, and like that would be one that would be sort of for adults there, or maybe the science of food, or healthy science of healthy eating for adults, and and plus we have a man who comes in and does talks on Swift, so that's geared towards the adults.
And he
as well.
approached us. You see, this is the funny thing. People will approach you about using your library as a venue because it's an established venue, and because obviously we don't charge people to come, and they'll have a ready-made audience and whatever. But as well as them, you can actually benefit, and they're very, especially when it comes to anything to do with the environment, and people really want to spread the word. So they're very keen to help you in any way they can. So engineers we what we're here for. That's our first week. So do you want to talk?
Yeah, I suppose down through the years we would always have had something during Engineers Week. We would have always had a direct sort of link with you. We would have got engineers to give talks, in a few libraries, at that stage. And when we took over then in 2018, we decided that we would do a bit more for Engineers Week, and that's when we started coming to the the training days as well here in Engineers Ireland, which we found to be a great help.
We've made many contacts from here, as well as the resources you offer us directly. But talking over a cup of coffee, it's amazing how many contacts we made and we got to use.
It's like for last year we I got talking to a chap from the OPW at the previous year, 2018. So for last year then we got engineers from the OPW to give us free talks in a few of our libraries, which was great. So it's great if you can cut the cost, or if you don't have to pay for something, and then it means you can pay for something big maybe down the line, whatever, for like last year we were able to pay for the Star Dome to come from Blackrock Observatory to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the moon landing.
And you got that lady from Chalkis, and they came and spoke about food, the importance of food.
Science of food.
That was this year. We got her.
So I know 1 year, 2018, you gave us, the Dream Big DVD. So we put that into our Solstice, into our art centre in Navan, and we got a lot of transition year classes from all around the county to come to that. And we had an engineer there to do a Q&A session then with the children about, careers in engineering and stuff. That was really successful. We wouldn't have known about that unless we had come in here to Engineers Ireland for our training.
And now we had some of our own engineers from Meath County Council, but one of the engineers was actually someone who was one of the companies that you are affiliated with for Engineers Week, and he came along as well, and it was very, very good, wasn't it? Very huge. We had about 300 students, and it was excellent.
Yes. Now the resource pack that Engineers Ireland provide as well is great, because there are certain experiments there that we can do, and one of the ones was the Windy City Tower that we did. We rolled that out, lots of branches. And what we have an e-services team who's made up of a group of people who are really into technology and doing things like that. So they were able to do the Windy City Tower, roll that out in a few branches for us.
And again, like when we say we have the events team, so Caroline and the e-services, but for the smaller branches, now for something like that, where it was different if we were paying for an event, so the event came lock, stock and barrel and just arrived. But for an event like that, we were staffed. We took down the how to do the workshop, how to run it. We familiarised some of the staff with it, and then they would go out to the various libraries themselves and they did it from there. So we weren't expecting people in the 1 and 2 person branches to do it. What we would say in that instance was, we have this, we'll send the staff out, you just advertise it, get the numbers, and we'll be there. So it's important to support your staff. You can't just sort of say, well, we're going to do this, we're going to, if you're going to be realistic about it. And these people,
because some staff are not good at doing things and that kind of thing.
And
you know, they have other talents.
They have other talents, but this wouldn't be. And in the event of that, they may just say, oh no, I don't want, I'm not an engineer, I'm a librarian, this is not my area of expertise. No. So by doing it this way, we got it to all the libraries at a minimum cost, because they were our staff and the resources were very paper and a fan was all we needed for it. So it was excellent.
And the book list that Engineers Ireland provides is very, very useful as well, because there would be some books in that we wouldn't know of, because we're not engineers either, but we would try and buy a certain, selection. It was good to have that book list, and we could buy in copies of the books on that list. So definitely coming to the training here has really, really helped us, and the support that we get from Engineers Ireland is huge.
And I think other libraries would really benefit from coming.
Yes, we were surprised actually when we started coming that we were the only public library people coming. And as I said, the contacts are great. We've even Amanda spoke to a man from Maynooth here back at the last one in November, and he's interested in doing
the
adult stream to do something in the summer for that, maybe during Boughton, which is adult. So
we have then, like, the obvious things during engineering. We did the Lego competition. Everyone loves a competition, okay? So what we did was, it was to open to everyone in need, and then you made your Lego exhibition model, and you brought it into Navan, and it was displayed. So we had 2 sections. One where a member of the public could come in and look, and they could vote, and then you had then we had the People's Choice. Okay, so then again, we used one of our own engineers for that, and that's cutting down your costs there. He came in and he had a good look, and it went very, very well. It was interesting that the one that the engineer chose as his model was not the one that the general public chose. It was just interesting.
And
go ahead.
So I know last year then we had a few complaints as such that there was nothing for the younger ones in the Duplo. So this year, as well as our Lego competition for the 7 to 12s or whatever, we're going to do a Duplo competition for the under 6s. And really, €50 to €25 vouchers for Smith's Toys, so €50 for competition, and then go and buy Lego or Duplo, whatever. It's not huge money, but the kids love doing it. They love bringing it in, bringing, their grannies and granddads in.
It was on display for a week, public area.
And the public could vote then, you know what I mean? And then we had
and of course they got their Lego back and their Duplo back, and that was fine. So this year, because it's a leap year, they're focusing on an open day for all libraries in Ireland. So obviously we have to think about what we could do. So we decided, we had a meeting, an events team meeting, and it was decided that one of the events that we would do would be our STEAM boxes. And we're going to talk in the next slide now. They're my kind of baby. But so that all libraries will have something to do on the day. And the reason, can we move on to this STEAM boxes? Okay. So what are the STEAM boxes? They're basically boxes of toys that are STEAM related. They can be very, very simple. Lego, Duplo, Magnitex, certain jigsaws, anything that you can build on, magnet toys, for dress, these magnet toys, anything like that. And they're just so we just decide what's suitable for 3 to 6, what's suitable for 7 to 10. So I know, for example, in both our libraries and in 4 or 5 more, but just speaking more, every Saturday morning between 10 and 1 is STEAM free play. So we put out, and we do keep them separate because some toys are not suitable for some ages. Okay, small pieces, etc., for your mouth. So we have 2 big long tables, and people come, and it's absolutely wonderful to see parents come with their children. What is involved? Staff put the games out. Staff take the games away. So what you're doing there is you're minimum the amount of staff input. You're creating the bond between children, parent and children, and then the tidy up is fine, which means that every library in the county can have it. Again, the standardisation is what we're talking about. So being from a bigger library or a smaller library, it doesn't matter. The event can go ahead. The only thing that affects it really is space. I mean, how much space do you have?
Yeah.
And sometimes we have in Trim now, we would put out, we have a lot of toys. So we might, obviously Lego and duplicate all, but we might vary the toys we put out some weeks just to make it a little bit different.
And in the smaller branches, you can put out a smaller
amount,
yes,
you know, but you can keep varying it or whatever, okay?
Just to go back to Engineers Week this year, this year, no, we just want to say that we will be doing Lego We Do workshops as part of the IT grant that we got from the government there last year. We bought commitment to Lego We Do, which is Lego We Do, and we have our e-services team who will roll that out for us in a few branches now. We will also have Up and Away, they're a company up in the north, and they do kite making, and they're excellent. We had them for Science Week from SFI, we got them, and so they will come in to do that. We'll have our Lego competition, our Duplo competition. We will be doing as part of on the open day for our libraries, we'll be introducing, which we'll be rolling out for Engineers Week as well. It's a giant Jenga, and we'll have parent and child sessions there with the giant Jenga. So again, it's further emphasising. And
that's the beginning of your week, that 29th, isn't it? This year, at least, it's the beginning of the Engineers Week.
Yeah.
So basically, the STEAM boxes, the objective of these sessions was to encourage parents to play with their children. It's quite obvious, really. It's not a staff supervised activity, which means obviously smaller branches are not penalised by not having enough staff. Staff involvement is putting out and putting away, as I said, of the games. And there's just a list: Lego, Duplo, Jenga, Magfomas, Magnestic are available. And the games are divided into 3 to 6 and 7 to 10.
And again, it's getting children involved in building and making and further just reinforcing STEM, you know, that they can do this.
And we've done up a couple of little booklets on the importance, the significance, shall we say, of these games in your child's development, you know, and we leave those out and people are free to take them or whatever. But so while they think they're just playing games, there actually is so much more behind it, and we would just like them to realise what is behind all of that. Yeah. Okay, so that's our STEAM boxes. Then we have our STEAM stories.
So libraries coming into the library aspect.
This is our literacy bit. This is our directly obvious literacy bit. So these are literacy workshops with a STEAM emphasis. So they're all based on traditional fairy tales or well-known children's stories. So what happens? You read a story, then there's an experiment or activity. Parents are hands-on. Okay, and it's suitable for 3 to 6 year olds. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what we mean, because I know when I first heard it, I thought, what is this, a literacy workshop or whatever with a STEAM aspect? So the 3 little pigs in that, the focus is on engineering. The house, how strong, what they built the house, the straw, the broomstick, how sturdy it would be. Mr. Gumpy's outing is about sinking or floating. The blue balloon is about static electricity. Stuck is an emphasis on magnets, and the 10 little pirates is about maths. So it's more suited to 3 to 5 as it's rolling a dice, and colour by normal activity. Yeah. Okay, so that's really, now we have found those a huge success. And there is minimal, there's only one person required to do it. Okay, so again, smaller branches are getting to do it. We've rolled those out throughout the year at various different stages. And during the summer, we couldn't have enough of them. Yes. You know, we really couldn't have enough of them. And again, as I say, there's not a huge amount of money there. Okay,
you just need
all those books are already available. We already have them, and it's just the little bits and pieces for whatever. And all our staff are trained when we do our training days. Ours trained, but I mean training. It's not about training. It's just about saying this is what you're doing here. This is what you're saying. It works really well. It really
and again, you're introducing the scientific terms at a very early age for the children, like sinking or floating. You know, electricity. So you're just again, it's, you know, introducing, reinforcing.
And again, when we do that, we would always have lots of books on whatever, if it's engineering or if it's flotation or whatever. They'll be available too as well for the parents when they're in the library on the day. And it works really, really well. So there's some pictures, and we just wanted to show you the various different things. There's obviously our Windy City challenge there that we got from Engineers Ireland. We don't have one in the Solstice. And there's a couple there of just people who contacted us and asked us, could they run an event for us, you know? Then we have our Lego competition. Peter Rabbit. A couple of years ago, Peter Rabbit was the film everyone in the whole world had to see. So obviously we had lots of Peter Rabbit books, so we decided we would adopt him. So we did adopt Peter for the year, and we did a lot of planting of plants.
Because he was eating the cabbages.
He was eating the cabbages and lettuce, and so that was part of it. And that went down really well. That was really good. Children went away with this, and then even children brought back pictures of it growing, and it was very, very good. The picture there to your right, it looks like an astronaut, but in fact it's our colleague Helen, and she's a beekeeper, and that's what she wears, and she is great. She does any of those talks, and she's all of the equipment, and she displays it all beautifully, and that's wonderful.
Thomas the Tank, we sort of
we adapted him
for summer program. What we did was we had, again, you read a Thomas story, and then we cut out shapes like a rectangle to make Thomas. They could make Thomas with cardboard. So they cut out. So you're introducing shapes. So you say take the orange rectangle, and then you get the round wheels, and the square.
And it worked very well. We sent it around to all the libraries, and every library, of course, standardization had a big sheet, and it was all there, and so they'd point. So you just sort of say, now everyone take this. You put all the shapes in front of the children. They absolutely loved it. And then what we did was we bought Thomas the Tank Engine train sets. So after they played, so we paired them off into twos, and they made the set and played. And that was really good. So it was cooperation, it was fixing it, taking turns, which was a big one. And but that was wonderful, and the parents loved that one as well, didn't they?
Just the scratch workshop there. We have our e-servicing that we've mentioned, who are a bunch of our library staff who are really into technology and committed to doing it throughout the county. And we did a scratch training with them, a group of them. We took them, we got an outside person in, and he did a scratch training workshop with them. So now there's at least 6 of them now who are trained in scratch coding, and for the summer they went around nearly all of the libraries, 11 out of the 12 libraries. They did scratch workshops for us, taking 10 children at each session. And we have, with the IT grant that we mentioned before, we got laptops as well, so it's been great. So the e-services team are really great in helping us and assisting us because we couldn't do it.
With our laptops, there's a resource centre in Trim anyway, and I saw they were advertising Coda Dojo classes, so we rang up with an intention of maybe booking someone to do a course of them, only that you couldn't pay them. So this guy came, a really nice guy, and he ran like 5. We used the 12 laptops that came from our head office. And for 5 weeks, they did a whole scratch program and Coda Dojo, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. Another thing is, it's amazing different episodes. We had a man who came and spoke during, it might have been Earth Day, around that time, or Earth Week. He spoke about bats. And then what he did was he took the people out. He had it at night, so he took the people out then to where the bats live in Trim. Well, the batty people in Trim. But he took them and he showed them the bats and whatever, and just added another dimension. So they came, they had their talk, and then they all had a cup of tea and they chatted. They waited for it to get dark enough, and then they left and they went off. And the feedback was amazing after that, So then if you look at this, there's the literacy stories we told you about. So you'll sort of see there's STEM, solve, and fairy tales. So there's a whole series of them. There's Goldilocks and Rapunzel. There's Jack and the Beanstalk, and there's Cinderella. Okay, but I just took 2 there just to show you. But and that. So
I think that brings us on to our last slide. Finding resources. We spoke about our resources. All the way through. So we said, that staff were conscious that a lot of libraries, authorities mightn't have, a lot of money to do STEM, whatever. And we were just saying that staff is a huge resource, as we've said, that, even, in your library staff, that you could have a person who's really into something, really good at something, and to tap into their talents. As I say, like our colleague Helen, who's really into the bees, she's been brilliant and does brilliant workshops for us.
Absolutely.
Our e-services team, they're so much into technology and Lego and all that sort of thing. They've been a huge help to us. And even to go out into your council staff, find your engineer, in the council Council.
We had one of our colleagues from the County Council. He came and spoke about bugs. What the bugs you find in water tell you about the water.
Yes, water.
You know,
yes.
He
came from the water services.
Yeah.
Yes,
then we had the chief fire officer came and she talked to us about
during Engineers Week. Yeah, last year.
Yeah, Engineers Week last year. She spoke about women in that role.
Yes.
And she was inspirational.
Women in, she was very good. Yeah. And we tied it in with International Women's Day as well.
Because that worked.
And we got a group of 50-year girls over from the local school, and so it was like careers for girls, for women. It was really fantastic. Good, yes.
And we had this year we also had Joanna Donnelly came.
Yes.
She had been. You see, we help each other. The various events members of the team help each other. The summer team had used Joanna Donnelly for the CBF Children's Book Festival had used Joanna Donnelly because she had a book to launch. And it was called The Weather Book. It's a gorgeous book. And we sort of thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have her? Mm-hmm. So we poached her then and got her to come for Science Week. And she was wonderful, wasn't she? She was absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Great question and answer session with the children. Yeah. So your community is a huge resource, as we were saying. Okay. Sometimes I even go over to our notice board and have a look and see, well, what's coming up here? Mm-hmm. And how could we tap into that, and most people, I've never yet approached anyone who wasn't very happy to help us or to use us, and whatever. And then, I mean, obviously the resources, the outside organisations like yourselves, engineers, are huge resource for us.
I mean, definitely, as I said before, and we've got great help from engineers and support.
Yeah, because
and made great contacts.
Yeah, and most people, well, I think I don't know that we have anybody in Meath County Libraries who has anything like an engineering background, or indeed even a science background. Yeah. It's not just the way librarians go, Mm-hmm. Science Foundation of Ireland have been very helpful to us. Teagasc have helped us.
Yes.
OPW have helped us.
Yeah. And talk to
people and just keep your ears open and your eyes open. Mm-hmm. The beautiful thing about the STEAM boxes is there is an initial this is my baby again. Mm-hmm. There is an initial cash outlay, obviously, but once you've made that, you can build on that. Okay, and they can be taken out at every situation. We would have a situation where we have a class from the autism unit that come down on a Friday. Sometimes they like to look at books, sometimes they like to use the Tober Taffel table I spoke about, but sometimes they don't want to do either of those things. And we would take out the Lego and the Duplo for them, and they absolutely love it. And all this is a matter of me going and bringing the stuff out. So again, that could even happen in a one-person branch because just bring it out and they'll tidying it all away. It's all part of playing with it and tidying it away and whatever. So those kind of things. So the STEAM stories are a huge resource and there's very little money involved. And
so
staff will be comfortable with those.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't have a lot of money,
if you
can still do things like that. But as I say, you can still, look at your staff, look at your community, and look to your outside organisations. As I say, even if it's only to put on 1 or 2 events per week during the year, at a low cost, you can do it.
I mean, even some of the groups that perhaps might meet in your library, I mean, you could have a crochet group or a knitting group, for example, just off the top of my head, and they might like during Balthana Festival, for example, to come down. Balthana means a festival for the older person, so they might like to, if you've got a class down, shall we say, say knitting. I know knitting has become quite trendy again, but a lot of children don't actually know how to knit. But these ladies, for example, certainly in our branch, would be very happy to show these children in the library how to knit and come down. And then there's the interaction between the older and the younger person, and it ticks so many boxes, and it's just lovely to watch, isn't it? And even on a Saturday morning, you look over and you see like parents lying on the floor playing Lego and whatever else. And it's just the informality and the relax, and it's what you want in a library. That's easy.
Yes, and as I said earlier, like the last 2 years, we sort of have been focused on schools and school events. This year, we hope to, as I say, to increase, the family-friendly, have events maybe at family-friendly times, because during the week, during the day, it's not family-friendly with working parents, and that's to have maybe more events on a Saturday. That's where the STEAM boxes are brilliant. More events on a Saturday and more adult STEAM events as well, particularly during Bealtaine. So even we are aiming for this year.
And at Christmas this year, we had a writer in residence came at a few of the libraries, and parents and children stayed and they all contributed to a story, and then he went away and he wrote the story with all their ideas. It was a wonderful story, and they loved it. And then the book was published, and they could come back and pick it up from the library. And they absolutely loved it. And there was so much parental involvement and whatever. And parents are really seeing us, I think, as somewhere to stay and play with their child,
now, rather than just dropping and going. Yeah.
Or come on, get the book and let's move. You know, it's just, you know, it's much more a place to hang around and to chill at. Okay, so I hope that helps everybody.
Yes.
If there's anything else you want to know about us, just contact us or whatever.
Okay.
Okay.